Persona 4 Golden. I genuinely had no idea what I was in for when I booted up this game last fall. It had been sitting in my Steam library for a while and I just installed it on a whim. Some of my favorite games ever have been anime visual novel murder mysteries, and people around me were into Persona 5, so I figured I had nothing to lose, but I had no idea of what the next few months of playing this game were going to be like. I beat Persona 4 Golden in around 60 hours. Here's what I think. If you don't know what this game is about, essentially you, the protagonist and extreme sufferer of mute but irresistible main character syndrome, have been dumped at your uncle's for the school year and have to basically start over socially. Very convenient for a game where half the experience is constructing and building up friendships. Shortly after you arrive in town, murders begin to occur. Spooky. You and your friends rescue individuals from a shadow realm inside of TVs, and those rescued individuals become members of your party. Your ever-increasing gang works together to solve the mystery, and then you just live your life for several months until you leave.
Wait a minute!
So, Shadow Realm? TVs? What? Yeah, I know, but you stop caring pretty quickly because the Shadow Realm is so cool and creepy and addictive, which actually describes the story at large. Solving the murders involves a long trail of people you have to help or confront, and they've all built up floors of colorful labyrinthian dungeons full of freaky demon shadow creatures that you'll have to fight to get to them. And you fight those demons with personas. Personas are basically Pokemon if Pokemon were way more weird, unique, freaky, and inspired by the lore of various cultures instead of animals and objects. You know, like a dog or a chandelier or never mind. Anyways, personas all have types, and so do the demons you're fighting, so you're not just doing melee attacks every turn. You're constantly trying to figure out the types of each demon and using different personas to fight those types and beefing up your personas and making new ones, which is another one of my favorite things about this game. There are hundreds of personas that you have to either find in the dungeons or make by fusing personas together. Fusing is just, like, completely unsexual breeding. You pick two personas and what stats you want to bring down from their parents. Well, actually, you can fuse 3 personas, so it might not be completely unsexual, but I don't want to think about how these 3 get it on. Speaking of that, this game is also a visual novel and a dating sim. Yay! Except for I'm about 10 years too old for this shit, dude. It's definitely immersive in how well you get to know the other characters and how many hours you spend talking to them, but these conversations feel largely immature and surface level to me. The cop-out way to address it would be to say that teenage narratives are not relatable or enjoyable for me at 26, but that's not the case at all. Plenty of stories about young people are well written, anime, video games, and otherwise, and Persona 5 is a shining example of that. The conversations in that game feel much more like talking to real people, and the overall tone of the game is much more mature, while still having a sense of humor.
Oh, I think I cracked my ass.
The characters just feel more human, the conversations with them flow more naturally, so overall I found Persona 5 way more addicting because of that aspect, where a lot of times in the conversations in Persona 4, I was kind of just groaning and waiting for them to be over because even if there were plenty of funny moments, the conversational writing was just not that great. And that's my opinion, and if you think it's great, then that's totally fine. Please don't leave hate comments, just, understand that we can have different experiences with the same game. That's part of what makes games beautiful. Now, with that in mind, I still think the story is pretty impactful, especially if you play it while being close in age to the main cast. I can't imagine the effect a game like this would have had on me when I was an isolated teenager because back then, the cast of my favorite cartoons felt like my friends. The emotional pull I felt saying goodbye to the investigation team and my foster family at the end of the game was pretty powerful. I'd guess at least 30 or 40 of my 60-ish gameplay hours were just spent talking to the characters and getting to know them. Because the most important aspect of this game is social links. The personas you train and battle with are strengthened by your social links. Characters have types associated with them, and the closer you get to them, the more badass your personas are. And you have to hang out with a character around 20 times, if I had to guess, before you max out their social links, so you have a lot of conversations and adventures with them and get to know them well by the time you're done. You also get to pick out who you want to get to know really well, as there don't seem to be enough days to max out every link, while also doing the other things that the game expects of you.
You're watching Offbeat Kiki.
Something bit me.
Whoa! And it left teeth marks too! Are you okay?
I might be dying.
Back to the show. You, Natakami, the character you play as, is an absolute Chad. Every girl in this game is down to date him, and all the boys want to be his friend. Yosuke may also be down to date him, but they took those dialogue options out of the final game. I do wish that you had a bit more personality. I know you're supposed to become him, but other than the occasional funny option for response and dialogue, it's pretty dry. And that's part of why I love watching the Persona 4 anime so far, because he actually has a personality. I feel like this is going to be a little bit controversial, but I honestly don't like Chie or Yosuke very much. I find them both pretty obnoxious and juvenile. I honestly think they're kind of awful and deserve each other. Yosuke, in particular, is such a douchebag man. He's like Tucker from Danny Phantom level of gross. Probably worse.
Danny, if you could control a girl for just about 2 minutes...
But Teddy is a straight up menace to society. Persona! I played Golden, but I didn't actually get a chance to know Marie that well. Time got away from me and she left the game, and I didn't know that there was a time limit for her. However, I honestly didn't care that much because she gave me not like other girls vibes super hard. Girl, stop it with your bad poetry and get a job. Rise's alright. I just found her kind of boring, to be honest, but her dungeon had one of my favorite tracks in the game in it. And maybe if you're new here, you might be thinking, well, Kiki, maybe you didn't care for any of the female characters because you're a femoid yourself, but you're wrong there. I just don't find these characters to be particularly well written. The women in this game are either neurotic or throwing themselves at you, or both. So far, Persona 5 Royal seems to have done a better job with most of the female characters than this game. And then there's Yukiko. I liked her because she was kind of goofy with those glasses, had nice fashion sense, and my favorite personality of the main cast girls. She clearly has some self-esteem issues, and helping her feel empowered over the course of the game was really sweet. Well, yikes. I might just like the sad girls, because Yumi was my other favorite possible companion, but I guess that's okay because I'm also sad and trapped in a female body for some reason. And speaking of being trapped in a female body, I kind of think they were trying to do a trans thing with Naoto, and I know a lot of people disagree, so I don't really want to get into it and argue about whether or not it's canon because I ultimately don't give a shit. But I do want to say that Atlus needs to improve on how they represent queer people in their games. If Naoto is trans, come right out with it. Don't make them hide behind something as flimsy as dressing as a man to get respect from their adult coworkers. And if Kanji is a gay or bisexual or pansexual man, come right out with it. Don't make him hide behind a bunch of awkward reactions to obvious conversations. I mean, look at Kanji's fucking dungeon. This is kind of offensive whether or not he's actually gay because of the heavy insinuations and stereotyping. And you could try to flip it and say that his dungeon was a commentary on how society views gay men or expectations of masculine gender performance, but if that's the case, some of the other comments made about Kanji's potential sexuality seem out of place. Either way you add it up, something is wrong there. Naoto and Kanji were my favorite characters in the game, and I was disappointed with how they were handled. Openly queer characters deserve a place in video games, and I hope that Persona 6 can handle that better. Lastly, there's your adoptive cop dad and his neglected daughter. Getting to know Dojima was one of my favorite parts of the game, and the storyline that happens with his daughter really made my head spin. Skip ahead to avoid spoilers on the ending. I'll make this a chapter in the video. I'm really giving you time to pause this and move forward. Like, don't spoil this for yourself. It's really wild and the game is really fun to experience without spoilers. Okay. The slow build to Adachi kidnapping Nanako after spending the entire game working alongside Dojima, pretending to be a bumbling idiot, and ultimately being a sociopathic shitlord was crazy. I can genuinely say I was surprised to find out that he had been the one behind it the whole time, and I love it when a story takes me by surprise. I think that's why I like spooky, mysterious stories so much, because there just aren't as many plot twists in other genres of media, and I like to be thrown for a loop if I'm gonna take the time to invest myself in a story. I had really come to like Nanako by the time she was kidnapped, and that whole section of the story was really intense and emotional. I was honestly shocked by the reaction that it got out of me, and that while there are some questionable dialogues in this game, I like the overarching story a lot.
Man whore! She said you're one big man whore!
You're watching Offbeat Kiki.
You don't look good in red.
Back to the show. My biggest critique of this game is its pacing, which seems to be due to me playing the Golden Edition. From April to December, you play most days of it one at a time, and then after December hits and you solve the murder mystery, your gameplay is basically over and you have like 10 or so hours of cutscenes and random days to sit through until March when you leave. There is one dungeon that you can do on one day in February specifically, and that's only if you maxed out Marie's social link before December. In the original Persona 4, your game would just jump from December to your last day in town in March, so they just gave you more filler teenage shenanigans story time before the game ends. And an extra dungeon that you can go into if you interacted with the Manic Pixie Dream Girl enough while the story was still happening. I don't think it makes this game unplayable, but it is the main criticism I was feeling when I put the controller down for the last time. And it's also what kept me from finishing the game for at least a month after I beat the main story. So can we talk about the concept of best girl for a second? I know to some it's just a joke, but it's pretty gross for an entire fandom to be arguing about who the best female character is. And it's especially gross if your answer isn't Yukiko. No, but it's kind of messed up that you can just date every girl in the game if you try hard enough and then break their hearts or lie to them when they catch you on a date with another girl. I honestly tried not to do that because I just felt bad. I ended up maxing out Yukiko and Yumi, but nothing ever happened with the two of them. So who the hell is this game made for? I think if you're somewhere between 14 and 19, that's the prime time to be playing this, especially if you're not allowed to see your friends a lot or don't have a lot of them. Persona 4 Golden literally feels like a teenage life sim. I could see my younger self getting lost in this game for a whole winter break or something. Back then I was binging Bioshock or Fallout New Vegas or a mystery-based DS game all day, every day, just to distract myself from reality. I also think you can enjoy this game if you're older than the ages I mentioned, but you'll probably feel more nostalgic for that time in your life rather than finding it directly relatable, as some call it the golden years. LOL. Somebody take this mic away from me, dude, but there's a lot more to life than high school, and I think that probably makes this game fall a little more flat the older you are when you play it. I try not to go too in-depth here because I'm guessing some of you watching this haven't played the game and want to know if I think it's worth playing, and I'm gonna go with yes. I had a lot of fun playing Persona 4 Golden, even if I can see its flaws, and the Shin Megami Tensei universe at large has really grown on me in the last 6 months. I'm currently about 50 hours into Persona 5 Royal, 10 hours into SMT 5, 5 hours into Persona 3 FES, and 5 hours into SMT Nocturne, so I've tried a bunch of flavors of this experience now, and I'm really enjoying it. It feels so cool to pick up on the stems of the skill names and remember personas and demons jumping from game to game. And to be frank, if you need a distraction from your life for a while, these games are gonna hit the spot. Just don't forget to go touch some grass every once in a while. Genuinely, I know it's hard out there. If you already played this game and liked it, here's a couple suggestions. If you like the monster collection element, go play some Pokemon or the mainline Shin Megami Tensei series, depending on whether you want a game literally made for children or a JRPG experience where you kill God. If you like the murder mystery aspects, try the Zero Escape series or I, Somnium. And if you like the anime aspect, the ones I just mentioned work, or Danganronpa might also be up your alley, but it's older and you can kind of tell it was low budget starting out. And if you like the part where you make friends, I don't know any other games where you can do that, but I hear that Discord and Minecraft are a pretty good combo for a good time. And if you like it all, you should probably just play Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal because they made a lot of quality of life and gameplay improvements. The dungeons in particular are a huge step up from the randomly generated ones in this game. Alright, that's it for today. Thanks for listening. Tell me your thoughts on this game or whether or not this made you want to play it or if I was horribly wrong about something. I read every single comment I get. Go ahead and subscribe so we can talk again. Take care of yourself, stay hydrated, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hey. You dropped this.
Tell me why you did it, every dream falling apart. Tell me why you did it after the promise. Still lacking, oh baby, I need your love. Looking so different, glaring street lights. Heartbeat